We are on. Hello, hello. Hey there. You got to unmute yourself.
I have to unmute myself, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh my gosh, it's been a busy
I
day.
know, right? I have been kind of just
Yes.
staying around the house for real. I've been busy kind of reorganizing stuff in the house, in my bedroom, pulling stuff out the closet. I get tired of not having certain things to wear. So I said, I'm going through all my stuff. And I
Yeah.
did not know it was going to be a disaster. So my bedroom is just full of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So you've been out here.
always a need.
Say that again.
I said that's always a need to clean out your closet. Like
Yes.
it's
And it's always
refreshing.
fun. And it's
Yeah.
always fun for me because I rediscover things I didn't know I had. Some things still have tags on them and stuff I haven't gotten to wear. And so I'm like, yes, outfit.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the fun of
Yes.
rediscovering the stuff you stashed away or stored. Sometimes I
Yeah.
had to sneak stuff in from Pastor Chris, don't know what I get. Like, here you
Yeah,
go.
I think we've all been there.
Yes. Well, not
Packaging
all of us. I would hope everyone had
some
that.
of
Yeah, yeah. We
yeah,
need to get
most stuff
Pastor.
is done that.
Yeah, Pastor Chris always say you need to get rid of stuff. So every year I try to get rid of a lot of stuff, and we do it with in the ministry. We set out a table and let folk just go through and get the things that they need, or can use or
Mhm.
like. So that's always fun to see that others are being able to partake in some nice gifts.
Yes.
Stuff.
That's like my favorite thing. Oh my gosh. That's my
Yeah,
favorite thing is to actually be able to go through stuff and donate. That's like one of my favorite things to do.
absolutely, absolutely. You've been busy all day up and down the highways
Oh
selling
yes.
insurance.
Selling insurance, yes. Being an insurance broker, meeting
Yeah,
families' needs. That's a very great passion of ours,
yes.
to be able to meet people's needs and make sure that their families are protected. So
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
love
yes,
that.
yes. I'm excited about tonight, about the show and relationships. We get to talk about some intimate stuff. Hopefully, Bishop and Pastor is going to jump on. Pastor was really tired, so I don't know if we'll hear from him tonight. But and then you, as we both know, Bishop is always so busy, so he is like the expert of relationships. So
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, so hopefully he will grace us with his presence tonight, Bishop Brooks. We're looking forward to that. But before we get into the show, let's go ahead and read our disclaimer, if you don't mind, read Latrice, before we get started.
Yes, our
Yay.
disclaimer. Now, please be advised that the views and opinions of our guests and our statement not reflect ours. We are not offering counseling or any advice that falls within the scope of our licensure governed by the state in which we reside. All advice is given under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, who governs our right to counsel. The counsel and information are solely the views of the contributors of the show. Our feedback, opinions, and expressions are based on our personal backgrounds and Christian beliefs.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Love it.
Amen.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, with that said, again, we are going to be talking about relationships. And I don't think I'm going to do as much talking because I had a lot going on for a minute. I did not
What?
tell all our business, right? Because I'm so transparent. I might need to
Yeah.
do a whole lot of listening tonight. But a lot of times, in relationships, that's exactly how we think. We don't want to share those intimate things about what is going on in our relationships because we don't know how people will perceive us. A lot of times, as women, we have learned
Right.
that we are expected pretty much to grin and bear it, right? To
Yeah.
deal with all the negative and unhealthy things that we experience in
Mhm.
relationships. And so with that, a lot of people just don't speak up. We learn that as little girls from our mothers, watching our mothers, go through things in their marriages and stuff. And um, so we learn just do what you're told, or and just, grin and bear it pretty much. So
Right.
um, I'm glad tonight that we have opened a forum for those individuals who are suffering in relationships or whatever, or maybe even thinking about entering relationships, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but they may be
Maybe.
going into the relationship um, in a way where they may later find out that their voice is not going to be heard as often. Their opinions are not going to matter, um, and that a woman should stay in their place.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes
Yeah.
we go into relationships so desperate that we
Yeah.
tend to um, tolerate any old kind of treatment.
Mm-hmm. We
So
want them
tonight,
so bad.
yeah, say that again.
Because we want them so bad. Sometimes we do a lot of things out of loneliness,
Yes. Oh,
and want to be needed or feel needed.
yes. Like as a
Hmm.
child, I remember growing up, and because our home was so dysfunctional, I wanted to be in a relationship where it was more healthy, So I
Yes.
just thought husband, wife, dog, white picket fence,
Hmm.
and live happily ever after in love with the person I got to choose. And so I grew up like knowing when I was able to compare, my family dynamics to what I would like to see. I wanted to, well, with what I wanted, I just start to dream, and all those things I just, created in my mind. Remember that show? I don't know if you remember. You should remember the Brady Bunch.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The Brady Bunch, the Waltons,
Hmm.
and all of
Hmm.
that. You have those shows that kind of represented family. The Bill Cosby show,
Yes.
those shows kind of set the stage for what a family looked like. And so in
Hmm.
comparing those things to what my life was, it was like, wow, I want to do better. I want a better life. I want a better relationship. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I thought when I get married, then it would be all you know,
Right.
everything just would fall in place. I didn't know all the things as a youngster, what comes with building a relationship, right? How to
Hmm.
choose the right person, how to wait, right?
Right.
Because we have
Yeah.
the issues of wanting to be attached and loved because we didn't
Hmm.
experience that as a child. And so once I got into the marriage and saw that, or just a relationship as a teenager, and saw like, oh wow, I guess I'm not it. You know, I guess he's not it. Then in your mind you start restructuring what you think a marriage should be and
Hmm.
things like
Yeah.
that. You did some research on marriages and stuff. You got something to read. To me.
Well, I
What did you
just
find for me?
Yeah, certainly. So, I just found one of the things I wanted to look up is the divorce rate
Mhm.
because, the statistics they're saying are very high. And we know that a lot of times that could stem from what they say in arguments, infidelity,
Mhm.
even arguing over finances. That used to be like the number one reason, and still may be. I'm not sure. Um, for the number one cause.
Yeah.
But generally, it used to be, but now they're saying that the number one reason for a divorce is substance abuse, domestic violence,
Well,
along with infidelity and conflict and arguing. So
mhm.
nowadays, it's not just money issues. It has a lot to do with infidelity, arguing, substance abuse, and domestic violence.
Wow. And I can
It's
see
the
that,
number
like,
one.
wow.
Mhm.
And I can see that, like, working as a substance abuse counselor. Um, a lot
Yes.
of marriages and relationships are always in conflict because of the one person in the family that's abusing substances and stuff. But what I've learned, like on the job that I just was recently in, and transition out of, is that couples are coming to like Suboxone clinics, right? And they're both of them, for whatever reasons, are attending counseling, which is part of the program. They have to do the counselors to get their scripts for the Suboxone. But
Yeah.
in counseling them, I saw where there was no fix for the issues that really lie deep within the family. They need to offer those type of people like more family counseling, right? In order
Ex-
to restore the relations, the dynamics of the family unit. And so I'm like, wow. So I'm counseling this person, the female,
mhm.
and then she's saying these things and that, and you could tell that emotionally she's involved and attached, and just feel like she needs to be there to help, her significant other or husband or whatever, or to be a support. And then
Yeah.
you to the brother, and then the brother is more like, he's just almost like being dragged along. And I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of that. Like they were just dragging along to provide the woman the safety net or feeling of security that they needed. It wasn't really
Mhm.
about getting treatment for the substance abuse. It was more so,
Oh,
yeah, it was more along those lines. It's like, or vice versa. Some cases, it's vice versa. She's being there for him, and they're walking through it together. And then other cases, it's just they both there to get that guaranteed fix that they need, and it's not about coming off of say heroin or methadone or meth or whatever.
mhm.
It's about just a place where they can go to maintain their habit, to stay,
Right.
to prevent them from being sick. So
Exactly.
yeah, I can see substance abuse as being one of the reasons why the divorce rates are high, because that is a everlasting battle within those couples that I've seen. Like they're fighting
Yeah.
for their sobriety, and all it takes is like one person, you know, um, one or the other, to decide that they're not, you know, wanting to be a part of the program anymore, and then the other
Mhm.
one, relapse, and then next thing they're filing for divorce. You know,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
the end result. As much as they hate to do it, in a lot of cases, they end up filing for a divorce. So, yeah, I can see that, and domestic violence being a big part of that. You
So,
know,
what do you think? I see Bishop is in the chat room. Hopefully, he can join us tonight.
I gotta send a link probably.
I was gonna say, have you ever seen like a couples, man and husband, wife and husband, come into the counseling center, and whether it be the husband supporting the wife or the wife supporting the husband, like what type of issues or what type of things are they most concerned about? Do you?
Like a lot of times, it's just one is trying to encourage the other one, to stay focused and just do what they're expected to do, to play their role within the dynamics, and
Right.
um, so that oftentimes is a battle, and so it's just, again, it's just always about, like, it's just about them trying to maintain, one or the other trying to maintain their sobriety, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to support each other through that, because they're not really too focused on anything else, because I mean those things are just, they are what they are. Either they're working, or they're not, you know
Right.
either they're home or they're not, but when they do talk and when they come together, it's the blame game. They're blaming one another for what
Mm-hmm.
the other one is not capable of doing, or being consistent with doing their part, playing their role. So I don't have, like, when they come to the clinic, they're not really, they just want to get their prescriptions and they're done. That's what they
Right.
want. And so, but a lot of times we do have to open them up to make sure there isn't anything hidden that will affect their sobriety, their recovery plan. So,
Right.
depending on, how they present, we determine how much we're going to be probing into, different areas of their lives. Like, how is it, are you still working? you know, um, how's it going with the relationship? Everything good in the relationship? We ask probing questions to kind of figure out, if we can discover something. Like we try to start turning over rocks, and oftentimes, yeah, oftentimes you don't find a lot. And when you do, it's the ones that have relapsed, right? They may come in and they've relapsed, and then they'll say, "Well, a lot of arguing contribute to the relapse. I just couldn't take it anymore. I needed a
Right.
break. I needed a break. I need some peace. I need a place where I can just be to myself. And when I get stressed out, I just start thinking of using."
Mm-hmm.
And so even though they put all of that work in, to stay sober and to be functional within a marriage or whatever the relationship, at any point it can all come crashing down because addiction is real within
Yeah.
marriages. You know,
Yes.
relapse is serious once they use. Remember, we talked about that when we was talking
Right.
about substance abuse. Once they pick up and use, then it's all downhill, because all they're hearing is do it again, do it again. Bishop, we just sent you a link to your email, but that's what they hear. So now the wife or the husband is trying to get that person back and on track, and that can be a struggle, and it can be time consuming. It causes a lot of stress in the home because that person that's using substances may be in and out of the home or not, is not going to work. And so it's a whole hot mess. And that's why a lot of times, for one reason or another, it'll lead to divorce. It'll lead
Yeah.
to divorce. So, but and I've been one of those wives, that eventually had to say, um, kick bricks, kick bricks,
Right.
kick bricks, because what you're not going to do is to continue to disrupt this house,
Right.
and I'm going to need you to play your part in working and maintaining a home, and being who you signed up to be. And so I'm
Right.
going, 5 years, I was in two marriages, and each was 5 years, and once I discovered that was a issue, drugs were an issue with them, I would did my part as a wife, you know,
Mhm.
I was there, helped them get through rehab. Okay, Bishop. Help them get through rehab and everything else, and they would do good for a few months. You
Yeah.
know, they would do good for a few months, and then after a few months, for whatever reason, and it just could have been, because of um, things that were going on in the home, or maybe friends that they were connected with, for whatever reason, they would fall off, and they were back to using substances again. So
Exactly.
as a wife, you pick them up again, and you put them in the right direction. You clean them up. But with all of that, you don't know what they're doing outside. You don't
Right.
know what's
What's
going
happening in
on.
the house?
Right. You don't know if they're sleeping with people for drugs. You don't know,
Mhm.
because by the time they drag back home, they're a whole hot mess. You know,
Yes.
I had one, and I had two husbands like that, and and so I had one when we had a one on one, like like many conversations, like let's keep it real, like what's going on? What are you doing out there? What are you doing? I understand that you're going through it. I don't understand addiction because I didn't. But I do
Right.
understand that when you come home, you're nasty, you're stinky, you need a bath, you eating up all the food in the house. What's going on? What are you doing out there? What do you mean you ain't taking no bath? Why is your breath stink? What is going on?
Oh my gosh.
And so, yes, that's what you get when somebody's, addicted to crack cocaine or heroin or whatever. They're getting it in the mud. With my daughter say, they're getting it out the mud.
Yeah.
Meaning they're doing whatever they need to do to provide for themselves, and it's not, you know, it's the things that they're, looking to provide is the drugs, is the drug. So
Right.
as wives, you have to see that over and over again, And then, so we had the conversation like, what are you doing out there? Are you sleeping
Mhm.
with women? What are you doing? And so, we had a real, and he said, one of the two husbands, one rest his soul. He said, "Hey, I'm just, he said, I just be focused on the drug. I just be focused on his addicted to crack cocaine. I'm
Right.
just focused on getting high. Yeah, I don't care nothing about nothing." And that's how all of us out there that's doing that, we're all trying to figure out how to get high. How who's gonna get some dope and where we gonna all go to smoke it, and we all sit and smoke and get high, and then we out on a mission beating the streets again trying to get some more. And he said
Yeah.
sometimes, I would get so caught up in the hustle and the bustle of it, you ain't thinking about, taking a bath, because you might be over somebody's house and they not gonna let you take a bath, and you ain't bring no clothes to do all of that. When you left, you kind of just chasing the ghost, really.
Right.
And so
Right.
he said, and he would always start off drinking beer and
Yes.
listening to music because he loved music. And so he
Right.
drank beer, he listened to his music, and next thing you know, the devil got him off and on a mission somewhere. And I come downstairs like, where he at?
Mhm.
He
And
gone,
he's
where's
gone.
my car? Yeah, like, where's my car? Things like that. And it's like,
Right.
oh my God, I may not see my car to like, for a week.
Mhm.
It was just crazy how, being in those marriages with them struggling with substance abuse, it takes a toll on the one that is not using, the one that is expected to hold it down while they struggle through their addiction. And when you don't understand addiction, then
Mhm.
you don't understand why this person is doing that. You don't want no parts of it, because the last thing you're thinking of when they come home is laying up with them, because they've been gone for a week and they looking and smelling like, and come home
Right.
eating up everything. You just looking at them in disgust, like, oh my God. But you done
Mhm.
cried and you done prayed and you done waited for them to come home. You done walked the streets. Many times, me and my in-laws will walk the street looking for them and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
where they at, crying and praying to God, please send them home. Lord, keep them covered. And, to no avail. They would come when they were done chasing that ghost, chasing that what I now know to be that, that reward that the mind wants, because you've used
Yes.
something that caused that euphoria, right? So now I know
Exactly.
that they were chasing that euphoria that they were never going to get again. They were and they could not
We're
see.
on a mission. Yeah.
Yeah, they could
Mhm.
not turn that off like I
Yes.
thought they should be able to. Like, you have a family. You
Right.
have to go to work. I have to go to work. You leave here and you go chase drugs, and we're struggling. I done lost my job. You don't have a job. And now, so back then I had no understanding as to why, that person would do that. Are you kidding me? Do you have no morals, no values? What is wrong with you?
Mhm.
I can see you go get high and you realize, okay, I done been out too long. I need to get home. I'm drunk. I gotta go. Call your wife and say, girl, I'm gonna need you to come and get me. I am so drunk. I'm out here kicking it. Back then I would have rather for you to say that than to wait a week and come home,
Mhm.
because you out there chasing this drug. So a lot of times marriages are lost because, or severed. Divorces happen because
Yeah.
of substance abuse issues, like you
Like, yeah.
yeah, like in the statistics, and you just, it's sad, but at some points we have to walk away, because the behavior of individuals using substances can be overwhelming on the family, and it changes the dynamics, because a lot of times the wife have to step in, and be the provider and be everything. She has to now be the disciplinary in the home, and all of those things. She has to be the counselor, she has to be the doctor, she has to be all of those things, so it changes the dynamics. And then if you have children who, shows more respect to the father because he is the disciplinary. The mother is left to have to deal with the children's attitude and behavior. So a lot of times the
Exactly.
dysfunctions within the family change dramatically, and to the point where the wife, or vice versa, the mother is not there to take care of the children. So the little girls suffer, the little boys, out of concern or fear of what's going on with their mom in the streets, they may start having behavior problems and
Mhm.
issues. So it's just horrible how the effects of substance abuse affect marriages. It's a horrible,
Yeah.
horrible thing. And I can see a lot of domestic violence was one of the things you said that results in
Yeah.
in divorces. Domestic
Domestic
violence.
violence, and infidelity,
Yeah,
and that's something too where a lot of people are getting divorced because of
yeah,
that. And, as they say, the more times we marry, we have a more percentage of getting a divorce.
yeah.
So, they're saying that from my understanding, every 1,000 marriages, 3 people get divorced
Wow.
from it. And a lot of that comes from, infidelity. And that's something, that I can relate to because I was married before
Yeah.
and married to a person who committed adultery.
Hmm.
So, and, he decided to part ways.
Hmm.
And that was okay for me because, as Real Talk Kim says,
Yeah.
the trap stick itself out. You
Mhm.
never want, I never wanted to be in that situation, and I did try to save my marriage, but sometimes, it's not likely,
Mhm.
especially if it takes two to want to be in a relationship. And so,
Exactly.
yeah, and if you don't have that foundation and you guys cannot both agree, that's what you want, then there's no purpose. And I just look at it as they wasn't part of my future. They wasn't part of the calling that God had for me.
Yeah.
So, and God sees all hearts. I truly believe that.
Mhm.
And he forgives each and every one, that has committed that act. But
Mhm.
at the same time, um, yeah, it's just something that, I hear a lot of people, some people say they wouldn't be able to, like, after that's the last straw, like that one time is it, they wouldn't even consider reconciling because
Mhm.
that's all it takes,
That's
so
disgusting.
yeah. Hmm.
I wouldn't want to be with someone that was caught in the act of, physically
Oh,
being,
adultery.
or,
Yeah.
with a woman, another woman. You're
Yes.
disgusting, and I'm going to shoot you.
Right. Not shoot them, Chantel. Oh my gosh.
I, I'm going to
Yes.
shoot you. I'm going to shoot you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, if I think I don't, you know what, and that actually happens. That happens. Women catch their
Women
husbands
do that.
sleeping with
Yeah.
other women, and they literally lose their mind. I think like if I was younger and I was married to someone and I caught them cheating in that way, I would have, because I was a hothead then. Today,
Right.
listen, go on. Especially if you're a Christian, right? If you're a
Right.
Christian and you decide to cheat in a marriage and you're a Christian, I just look at it today because I've been through so much already. Like that's
Mhm.
something you're gonna have to work out with God.
Right. Exactly.
That's
That's
something
something
you're
you
gonna
have
have to
to
work out
handle.
with God.
Yeah.
So, and if you have a thick skin because you've been through a lot in your life with relationships, you can
Mhm.
stand right there. Like, if something like that would have happened to me when I was younger, oh, I'm done. It's a wrap, and so are you. Because
Right.
I couldn't process that. Don't
Mhm.
disrespect me, and that's just who I was. Don't disrespect me,
Right.
because I'm gonna be loyal, and I was loyal and I was loving and I gave so much, but I had a whole lot of mental health issues because
Right.
of my childhood, and so I felt
Right.
like I had to fight for that respect, wanting to have respect from my mom, not so much respect, but wanting the perfect family, or a family that was at least normal, not getting the attention, being molested at the hands of, people that love me, that allow that to happen, and all of that stuff. When I found out no one could do anything about that, and I was a
Right.
teenager, now everybody can get it.
Yeah.
Everybody
Mhm.
can get it, and that's how it was. Everybody can get it. And I was raised up the first 12 years of my life, I think it was. I was raised up in California, and I was pretty much, mom worked a lot, in between addictions and behavior and stuff, and we were abandoned a lot. And so the Crips raised me. The Crips, we spent a lot of time with the Crips, so any fear of anyone or anything quickly went out the door. Like, you know, um, you were made to fight. You were
Yes.
made to fight. You were told what to do. As we were,
Mhm.
we were the junior Crips. We were the younger ones. So they
Mhm.
dispatched us out to take care of their light work. The older Crips. So we
Right.
would go out at night at a certain time. We would comb the neighborhood in groups, and we would revenge our brothers that sent us out. So we tore up people's property. We did all kind of stuff as a group. And so
Mhm.
it was nothing for me to take that same energy and put it to somebody. You know what I mean? So once we
Exactly.
left there and we moved here to Ohio, I didn't have that family of Crips with me, there with me and guiding me. And if somebody make me mad, they gonna get it. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
didn't have that brotherhood, and so um, but that made me who I was. As far as, we ain't gonna talk like a lot of the girls that, they wanted to, when I hit downtown Cincinnati, and we were new kids on the block, and they always wanted to fight and stuff. And we ain't got to talk about it. None of that. No, we're not talking. Let's get to it. Period. Because that's
Exactly.
how I was raised. So I
Right.
took that mentality into my relationships. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're not going
Yeah.
to disrespect me. Period. I'm not
Exactly.
gonna let
Yeah.
you do that. So
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to hit you in your face. And so
Exactly.
that's how I move through my. I'm just keeping it real. That's our show, right? Let's keep it
No,
real.
I've done that
Oh,
though. I
come on
literally
now,
done
honey.
that.
I will have
I've
my.
done
They will
that
tell
because
you They will tell
I
you
have
shelter
five
isn't nut.
brothers. Yes, I have five
Yeah,
brothers, and I
yeah,
seen my mom be physically abused. Seen
yeah.
it with
Mine
my
couldn't
own
see
eyes
that.
for many years. So
Mhm.
when I felt like I was being disrespected, like you said, you be ready to fight. You
Yeah,
be ready to
yeah.
stick up
I'm
for
gonna
yourself.
fight you. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
ready, yeah, because there's no
yeah.
way
That's
you're
how it
gonna
was.
disrespect me and talk to me that way.
Mm-mm. I
So
didn't have it.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just, I would, so through my relationships, I would hit first, no, you're not going to disrespect me. And, and so I would hit you straight in your face first to let you know the fight is on. So, but that was all of that anger and all that I had been trained to do, taught to do, coming up under that game. We were called the Cripettes,
Yeah.
and so
Mhm.
that was old school. That I was the OG back then. Well, I wasn't OG then.
Mhm.
They would call me that now, but I don't claim any of that because I don't want to remember what it took for me to get to that point of anger. That
Right.
was forced upon me. We lived in an area where all the little kids was that. That's what you were. You were a cripette if you were a girl. So that's you it was what it was. So,
Yeah.
but thank God that our mom moved us out of that environment because I probably would be dead today
Yeah.
because I was yeah, I just went on and conformed. And so
Right.
yeah. So I brought that mentality here into my relationships, and that's when I start really learning, like, things have got to go my way. And if they don't,
Mhm.
somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going
Right.
to get hurt. So with that, I just kind of start asking God to help me and calling
Right.
calling on God because I didn't want to be angry. I was fighting my sisters and everybody,
Mhm.
coming up as a teenager. Once we moved here to Ohio, I was fighting everybody that wanted they could get it.
Yeah.
and I didn't pick any fights. I was loving and stuff. So in my marriages, those two marriages, I was the yeah, I was it.
Yeah.
So I thank God that I finally found a husband that I was still angry. By the time I married Pastor Chris, I was still angry because I was a new
Mhm.
convert, just coming into the Lord, coming to know the Lord, and I still had that stance. And so oftentimes when we would get into it, I ain't going to go no further with what but yeah,
Right.
Chris recognized real quick that I had some issues, and like he would tell me in the beginning, listen, I'm not your enemy, and you're not gonna put your hands on me.
Yes.
I'm
Right.
not that. I'm not. He would say it aggressively. I'm not one of them brothers you done been with. But he didn't use the word brothers. He said, you're not gonna put your hands on me. But I took my stance too. Yes, I will. Back up off of
Yeah.
me. And so it took a move of God to change to and my love for God, because Chris never, he never backed down. He never, but he was never, he never put his hands on me or anything, but he would,
Mhm.
honey, think with his mouth, and his stance with you're not going to wear the pants in this relationship. I am the man in this relationship. You're
Yes.
going to conduct yourself as God has caused you to be, and keep your hands off of me. Keep your
Yeah.
hands off of me. And so he moved in that, and he stood on that, and just me getting to know the Lord and wanting to be not to be that way, because what Chris didn't know is I had the capability to go further than what he saw. And so, and that was one of the reasons why I ran to the Lord, because I was on the verge of killing someone. And I didn't want to
Mhm.
be a killer. I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be that person. I was molded and sculptured to be. So
Yes.
I needed to change. I needed to change because um, Chris wasn't that. And now I think the reality to see this is a man of God. He's not going to hurt you. He's not going
Exactly.
to he's not going to hurt you, even though there's been times when his mouth and not respecting the calling on my life hurt it so badly. Hurt it
Right.
so
Mhm.
badly. I quickly had to learn, like, it's okay. The Lord told me he would show him who I was. And so once Chris recognized who I was and understood my struggle, because we got
Mhm.
married after knowing each other for 2 weeks. We didn't even know
Oh,
each other.
wow.
We didn't
And
know each
how
other.
long have you been married?
Going on 11 years now.
It's
But the
amazing.
first, yeah, but the first 3 years was crazy. It was Chris taking
Mhm.
his stance and me taking my stance, but understanding that I couldn't touch the man of God. It was a difference. It was a difference. Don't touch the man of God. Don't touch the man of God. And he stood in that and, like, don't you put your hands on me. It didn't
Mhm.
matter to me what he said, but spiritually I felt that. I felt that.
Right.
I felt that in the spirit, like, this ain't that. This
Right.
is not that. Regardless of how he's acting, how he acts, this is not that. It's okay. So I
Mhm.
started getting my healing, and because I was drawing nearer to God, not to
Mhm.
Chris, to God,
Right.
and I
God.
wanted to be pleasing unto God. I wanted to
Yeah.
be healed, because my problems came way before Chris. And what he was bringing to the table at that time was just exaggerate it, what you call it, it was just kind of irritating it. But I
Yeah.
needed to learn how to, I can see that word I was trying to say. I had to learn how to take it, take it,
Yes.
take it,
Right. Right.
take it, because I need you to be able to take it. Because where I'm
Right.
taking you, you're
Mhm.
going to need to be able to deal with all kinds of people. You can't
Yes.
go around socking folks and slapping people all upside the head. You can't be
Exactly.
doing that, breaking chairs on people. You can't be doing all of that, picking up chairs, trying to kill people with them. And you calm down.
Yeah.
You know, I'm running into brick walls, messing with Chris. Like,
Yeah.
girl, little fly, what are you doing?
Right.
I had to go. I went through a real life. I always call it exorcism, and
Mm.
where I could feel the spirits coming, trying to get Chris. They wanted Chris. They wanted Chris bad, and so I would
Yeah.
feel the muscles in my face, distort and stuff. when he would just come for me, challenging me and things and talking sideways. I thought, like, you're the
Right.
devil. I'm trying to
Yeah.
be in God. And I'm a brand new. I'm just coming out the world. I'm trying to learn God. And I done married you, but I had only known him 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He had been used to fight demons, giants, converting people into prisons and stuff. He was a man. He was a whole man. He wasn't one of
Yeah.
these young men that was struggling in addiction or none of that. He
Right.
already dealt with alcoholism and, was in doing God for 9 years. He come out, he looking for a woman of God. You're like, well, I need a woman
Yeah.
of God to keep me focused. And so he
Right.
got me, okay, I'm a woman of God, but I was a baby in Christ. And so he better pretty much saying, "You're a woman of God, okay, speak the word, speak the word."
Yes.
I'm a baby, and so I started lashing out in that way, and he stirred up that old man that was in me that I had tried to put to sleep. And so he kind of shook him up and woke him up, and then the fight was on. The fight was on
Mhm.
for me to be delivered, for me to be delivered. But he didn't know that. He didn't
Yeah.
know that God was using him to deliver me. He didn't know that he had to be a certain way in order to provoke that spirit within me. He had to be a certain way with me, and I didn't understand it then. I just thought he's trying to destroy me. And it seemed like he was. He was trying to destroy. God was using him to destroy a part of me that could not go where I was going. And so when I
Mhm.
experienced that exorcism, I knew finally that I was free. I was free from that
Mhm.
murder spirit because I had a murdering spirit on me when I
Oh, wow.
literally spirit.
It's it's funny that you say that because some of the other things that I was able to locate is that 14.1%
Hmm.
of people who are religious or in a religion, they are
Hmm.
more less likely to get a divorce. So I truly do believe, that's most of the reasons when we're married, we do hold on, to a lot of our relationships when we're spiritual, when we're Christian or
Yeah.
Catholic or whatever, because it's just something that the church do not believe in. But one of the things I do want to point out too, the divorce behaviors when it comes to like Black women, Asian women, and things
Hmm.
to that nature. So one of the things that I was able to locate, and I
I hear
was a
you,
little bit
sis.
surprised by this age,
Hmm.
that Black women are more likely to get a divorce between the ages of 50 and 59.
Hmm.
And that kind of shocked me because,
Hmm.
by that time you think that they have learned something or learned a lot or been through a lot or they're seasoned.
Hmm.
And, you think you look at you, I would think that it would be a lot of the younger people.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of Black women between the ages of 50 and 59, and then Asian women, which is very, interesting. Their first divorce is like 43.7. Between the ages of 43, basically, is in 43.2 or whatever, that they would more likely to get a divorce. And I'm like, yeah, that's very interesting because I've never heard of that. Usually it's our race who that I hear a lot about so far as divorce rates. And then, that's what I generally, have seen or have heard a lot when it comes to our African American, couples. So yeah, 50 to 59, very interesting.
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
that like when me and Chris, our first 3 years of marriage, and me getting to know him and him getting to know me,
Mhm.
many, many times we screamed divorce. We screamed
Right.
divorce. Like he wouldn't at first. He was just as a Christian man, he was more like, "You're my wife," and I felt like you're taking ownership of me. Don't nobody own me. And I still had a lot of cuss words in me. So I cussed him out quite often because I hadn't been delivered yet, right? And if
Right.
you make me mad today, I probably would still, conjure up a couple of them. But I don't
Bishop,
cuss. I don't really cuss. I don't really cuss. But Chantel,
right.
sometimes Chantel
Good
will wake up and be
tell.
like, "What's going on? What he say? What he say? What he say?" And I had
Right.
to tell Chantel, like, "Nah, come on, man. kill that all of that.
Right.
This ain't
Right.
that. This ain't that. You know, she ready
Right.
to go. She ready to let him have it. But Pastor Chris, he don't care nothing about none of that because he waiting on her. Every time she
Right.
comes, he waiting
Right.
on her. I'm about to knock
You're
her out.
gonna get with
Right
it,
back to sleep
right?
with his word, right? So, you know, I
Yes.
know he's tamed Chantel, and so she knows her place. Okay. She knows her place.
Yes.
And that's to just stay sleeping. And you know, so I let Apostle deal with Pastor now, but I tell you, we screamed divorce in the first 3 years, honey. Listen, he, you know, and then event I screamed it. I screamed and called him the devil the whole time. But then he started saying, and then when he was saying, "Go ahead, sign. I'll sign the papers. Give me a divorce. Give me a." That's how I used to say it, real aggressive, right? And I would stop like, for real. That's how you
Right.
feel.
Right.
Step out
Right.
of
You want a divorce? Let's do this.
right. And then, you know, then Chantel will step up and say, "Go ahead, okay, okay, okay." He was never Chris, he was the N word, right? Okay, that's what you want, that's what you want. And then so it was a lot of struggling with do the right thing, just
Right.
receive, listen to the Lord, don't listen to him. He's immature, you know, and so I went a lot of that battling went back and forth. And finally, the Lord told me, you know, stop using your words. Stop using your words. Stop using your words, Chantel. Use my word. Use my
Yeah.
words. So once I stop getting so hyped up and just start listening to him and listening to him, I saw where to me it was immaturity, and he had some growing to do in Christ. So I that thing, God turned that thing around, and then when I decided to use God's word instead of his word, then that's when Chris was able to receive what I was saying because it was
Yeah.
lining up with the word of God. And so we then became in sync with one another. And so I learned what to say and what not to say. And he became a teacher,
Mhm.
you know. But then there was still some forms of aggression because he was passionate. He was passionate
Right.
about the word of God. And so today, even sometime today, he's so compassionate about the word of God. Some things I don't even ask Chris because I know I can be persistent in trying to understand or thinking I know. And he is just so, no, you don't. No, you
Yeah.
don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. And you know, Chantel try to wake up. So but I've gotten a lot better. I got a lot of better. I'm glad Bishop Brooke has jumped on here.
Yes. Such an amazing man when it comes to relationships.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So we were just talking about marriages and different reasons why marriages don't last, different things that can affect communications within the relationships that can affect, you know, the dynamics of the family and stuff like
Yes.
that. And so, yeah. And we also, one of the other things we wanted to talk about was um, what was it? One of them was like getting to know someone before marriage. And I heard you, Bishop, you've spoken on that before.
Yes.
I
You
mean,
have. What do you think?
Yes, I have. Um, the only problem is I gotta get off. It's 5:52, and I wanted to catch in with y'all. Y'all was saying some good stuff though. I was more enjoying the things y'all was just talking about. You know, you know, to tell you some real interesting stuff. You know, it's very interesting stuff. I want to touch on it. I want
Well,
to touch on a lot of
give
stuff.
us 2 minutes. It's 8:52. Give us 2 minutes. Give us some nuggets we can leave the show, leave our viewers with thinking, leave them something to think about.
Okay, all right. So, on what part you want me to talk about? What part? Dating
Anything,
part?
anything, because you're very knowledgeable in relationships, marriages, period.
Okay, so one thing that I would say as it relates to women, God literally strategically made you guys, stand to be a helpmate for the man, right?
Right.
God gave you guys so much ingenuity, so much uniqueness to where the men are really, they really, there's a word I want to use. they really, I use intimidate. They intimidate because of what God placed in you. They don't realize that that what God placed in you was made for them. They don't even see it that way. You
Wow.
know, it's more of intimidation because of their position. You see what I mean, of being a head or a leader. And so you know, like I said, this goes real deep, guys.
It's
I got
really
somebody on hold. Somebody called in like 3 times. I ignored it. And the other person, the bishop is on down. I can't have them on hold too long. But and I showed like I'm gonna catch the next one. I'm gonna catch the next one. In fact, I'm gonna have to tell the bishop I'm gonna have to call him back too, because I gotta get on the Zoom and have that ready to go. You know, at
right.
6 o'clock. But like I said, just real brief. God gave you guys something that a lot of men are jealous and intimidated by.
Mm-hmm.
And if they understand their position, then they won't be so much intimidated. But what they'll do is they'll break the assignment that you can be more effective in your position as a woman. I just leave just that part of it out
Okay.
there for God. But
Well, thank you.
so, I was listening to you guys as you talk.
God bless
God
you.
bless.
Thank you. We'll
Well,
talk
thank
with you later.
you.
Okay, all right. God bless.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was so deep. Like they
that was
don't, what do you say? They don't
they're intimidated.
know
Some men are
what they
intimidated.
have. Is that what he said? He said they said
Oh, there
something.
go
He said,
Pastor Chris. There go my baby.
okay, Mr.
Yeah.
I just
All
talked
right.
like a dog, honey.
I know you will. I heard you. I heard that's on the good.
No, he did it in a genuine way,
I
though.
heard it was good. I
It
said,
was in a genuine
bullshit,
doggish way. But no,
I
I'm just
heard you.
Pastor Chris, I was off the chain, wasn't I?
Yeah.
I was trying to remember what Bishop said though, because that really spoke to my heart when he said that.
He said that most men are intimidated instead of respecting who we are as women. We are timid. They are intimidated because
Right.
I don't know why I couldn't remember why he said that intimidation is there.
Because
He
we
said,
bring
but it is
something inside of us that we bring to them that they're intimidated by, and they shouldn't be intimidated.
right. He said because we were sent as helpmates for the men, and so Pastor Chris can speak to that. If he won't, I will. Because I really felt like in the beginning that he challenged me a lot. He did. If you say you're a woman of God, then I don't see you moving like I. He told me one time. Can I say it, honey? I'm gonna say it anyway. So, he told me one time when we first met. Remember, we only known each other for 2 weeks, and he didn't know me in regards to ministry and stuff like that. He didn't know, and he told me once. He said, "I've been in ministry for 9 years." He said, "You've been in it for 9 months." Basically, what you gonna tell what can you tell me? So, I don't know why that was said to this day. I don't know why, but he had his reasons for saying it. And it could be because just the way I present it, the way I present
Yeah.
it. I believe I
Yeah.
was confident in what I was learning. And I think that in some cases, not all cases, when men see that a woman is able um, to present in a way that shows they know what they're talking about, or
Mhm.
you know, that they've learned a thing. Some men
Yeah.
who think they know everything may feel that. Okay, hold on, slow your roll. Slow down for a minute. I'm the man.
I don't know everything.
First, say we don't know everything.
More than somebody having 9 years of experience and somebody only having 9 months, but yet, and they're trying to debate with you or concerning a matter.
Right.
Man, you know,
What
sometimes.
about dating? Like I know, because I'm single. So what do you think, Pastor Chris, on dating? Like, how do you think a man should approach a woman, or what should we look for in a relationship, being a single woman or even a single man? Like,
Whereas a woman looking for a man, she should look for somebody with the characteristics of Jesus Christ, who's a real man. Jesus Christ, the real man. So if he don't got no type of character, godly characters, or respectful characters, that he know he's supposed to have towards a woman, being her friend and respecting her as the lady that she is, and not looking for nothing else, then if he ain't like that, then therefore he ain't the type of guy that you want to be around or end up dating, because he got
Yeah.
something else in his mind. But a man who want to date is going to be a man who will be your friend to get to know you.
Right.
When he talk about the outer you, talking about the inner you, to know you as a person.
Right.
That's a real man.
Mm-hmm.
Dating. Yep. Becoming friends, knowing each other's mind, knowing what each other like, you know, just knowing each other's mind and thinking, you know what I mean? To get
Okay.
to grow to know each other. And vice versa. With, you know, a man looking for a lady to be involved in his life and grow more and more, to learn one another, to learn of each other, to get to know each other, and then end up being married if they go that seriously. Vice versa.
Mm.
Bishop
Interesting.
Bishop was saying, I caught one of Bishop Brooks. He does really good with talking about men and men and women, and how what women should look for in a marriage. I think he had spoke on how a lot of times women just go in there heart first, and we don't really allow the men to pursue us. We go
Right.
into relationships pursuing ways to how to satisfy the man, when the role should be reversed. Because the scripture says, when a man finds a wife,
Right. He finds a good thing in favor of the Lord. Right. That's the
Yes.
truth. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they should
Right.
be looking, like Pastor said, a woman should be looking for the characteristics of Christ, and the man, the one, the man should be looking for the same things, and
Right.
um, and there should be some time, like Pastor Chris and I, when we entered into our relationship, our marriage, because we went straight into a marriage. I didn't know him, and he did not know me. And so it took a lot for God to reveal who we were, and to just kind of weed out what was not right, with us, so that we could come together and see eye to eye.
Yeah.
But had we had that time where we got to know each other, and we probably could have better had a better understanding
Right.
of how to address each other, right? I always say that the three C's is relevant in a marriage and in a relationship, and that's communication, consideration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Compromise. And I said consideration like that because we come to the table as individuals, um,
Yes.
and we come with sometimes with different morals and values, right?
Right.
We
Mm-hmm.
come to the table with a different, sometimes different beliefs, and so
Right.
in understanding um, your partner, um, that will help you and allow you to know how to address them, how to present before them, sometimes what
Mm-hmm.
to say and what not to say. And you have to take those things into consideration, especially before trying to enter into a relationship, a committed
Right.
relationship.
Exactly.
Because, right. So, and just to be honest, if I knew in the beginning when I met Pastor Chris that he was so aggressive and so, no, no, I would say compassionate about his walk with Christ, I probably would have waited a little bit to see if he was going to be able to accept me at my level, my level.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? And then once I had gotten to know him, and he, and him understand who. Wait a minute, let me say this the right way. And once I got to know him, and then recognizing that he understood where I stood as a woman of God,
Right.
but if he could accept that on that level, and have patience with God, changing me, that change process, then, then I would have been happily moving into those to that position as, a wife after a year or 2 or 3. It took we had a really rough 3 years because we
Yeah.
were really getting to know each other. And Pastor would tell you, I had a lot of anger, and I was, he saw a lot of things, and he came up against those things really hard, and so, but I learned, and we got over it. We got through it. I wouldn't recommend that for no one to enter into a relationship
Right, right,
with a
right.
hard
Not
period of time.
knowing someone.
Right,
Yeah.
because if you don't have that foundation to stand on, um, that says you're going to stand regardless, then you're going to easily part. You're going to walk. You can possibly walk away. But one thing that we knew, that we both loved God, and we knew that our walk was important to us because we
Mhm.
were in relationship to God. And so though we screamed divorce, and we looked at each other like, who are you? Who the hell are you? Um,
We never
thank
pursued
God
it.
that
Yeah.
we were the type of people that we could forgive. We forgave really quickly. We
Right.
didn't hold grudges. The
Mm-mm.
God in us didn't allow us to, hold grudges or go to sleep angry with each other.
Right,
Whatever we
right.
went through, we wrestled through it, honey, and it was not always easy. Like I said, my hands pop, and Bishop was, what did you do? Don't you, girl? So he will like, don't you ever, and so just with going through that and me understanding, like, you know, that was not okay. These things are not okay. And him being loving and forgiving and understanding my struggles and what I was going through, we were able to, you know, be quiet. When we were quiet, we could hear what we had just went through. And we were always, I love you too, and
Right.
forgive me. And, we kept going. But,
That
How
is
about
so
you?
good.
that's crazy.
That is so good. Because I know, I mean, I listen to a lot of,
That's crazy.
I
That was
listen to
a
a
crazy
lot of
time.
like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, different podcasts.
Yeah.
And I've heard that now, and being single, I think that this could be true to some extent, where they're saying like men want you to pursue them.
Yeah.
They don't want to be the pursuers anymore.
Yeah.
Now
Bishop
it's
talks
about
about
you.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
now it's about you pursuing them, or if you're in a relationship, you're in somebody's DM, or you're, trying to have. I can tell you last year I probably had about 6 men, 6 that had
Listen,
girlfriends that
Uh,
was reaching out to me.
that was
So
reaching out.
I don't know what that's all about, but
Hold on
that
for a
ain't
second.
no good.
There's something in
That
the
ain't no good.
background.
I tell you, that ain't no good. If they got girlfriends and pursuing you, and they had girlfriends,
yeah,
they ain't period.
Pastor
yeah,
Chris, is there something on in the where you are?
Oh
There's
yeah,
something.
let me turn this fan off.
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, they ain't no good.
So they had like what did you say about that? Like the men pursuing the women were pursuing the men. Like, what do you think about that?
No, I don't agree with it. I mean, if just like me and my wife, right? It was a whole different channel. Because what I did, I prayed for my wife. I said, Lord, I said, give me the woman you desire that loves you first, more than her whole heart and her whole mind, her whole strength. They basically went down the same life path I went down, Lord. I
Mhm.
Mhm.
said, I ain't looking for the perfect. I'm looking for the right mate that's gonna love you more than me, more than herself, more than anybody, and loving her family second, loving her husband second. The desire wife that you had for me. That was back in 2003. It manifested in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, here it was, Chantel. Me and her stayed on the phone for 11, 12 hours talking to one another when we connected and to get to know each other. I said, you the one. I just said, you the one. You the one. You. I prayed back in 2003. And then
I told
And
my daughter I was over Charmel house sitting on the porch, and he said that on the phone. I said, "Y'all, excuse me, y'all. I'm gonna use this word." I said to my daughter, because I was in the church, but I was a babe. I said, "Girl, this nigga crazy. He talking about I'm his wife." Ah!
And
That's
look
what I
at
was cracking
you.
up, girl. I'm sorry, y'all, if I said that. I didn't mean to
so,
be
so,
disrespectful, but
so
that's
it is. It's
that's how black folk talk. We use that term, loosely. But I don't use
it's
it
loose.
now. I don't. But yeah, that's what I said.
So I already saw her through prayer, just like I was gonna physically find her anyway. But I saw her first through prayer. I asked God for her, and then I'll begin to see. But yet, for a woman to seek a man, no, that's not biblically. But the Bible said, "He who finds a wife."
Fine.
So you don't have to go seek and try to find nobody. It's God already got it prepared for you. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be a time when you meet each other. You gonna come across your path. Whoever
Mhm.
that man is, that man of God is, he gonna come across your path, and you gonna know it's him. You gonna know it's
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just patiently wait on that. Keep
Mhm.
yourself in the relationship with the Lord, and keep bound with the Lord. God will send him across your path. He will send your Boaz, your king, your knight, your holy man. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming.
A lot of times we get involved in relationships, right? And
Mhm.
we think that's the right relationship. And even though we see that it's not, we ignore the warning
Red.
signs of being
Mhm.
in unhealthy relationships.
Yes.
One Love talks about relationships, and One Love is it posted while everyone does unhealthy things sometimes, we can all learn to love better by recognizing unhealthy signs and shifting to healthy behaviors. If
Yes.
you are seeing unhealthy signs in your relationship, it's important to not ignore them and understand they can escalate to abuse. I just talked about that with me and Chris when we first started out. And I would, I would hit sometime when I get mad because of my unresolved issues. So a lot of times you don't want to continue in those type of relationships. We're not condoning that or recommending anybody do, um, because you think it'll get greater later because it's gotten better with us. Um,
Right.
know that you might end up in a lot of trouble, or you could end up losing your life. You can hit somebody or push someone the wrong way, and as a result, you can find yourself in a lot of trouble, and somebody can really, really get hurt. One of the things that in a relationship is like a sign of things going badly in a relationship is intensity, right? When someone expresses very extreme feelings and over the top behavior that kind of feels overwhelming, things are getting too intense. If you feel like someone is rushing the pace of the relationships, um, like they're coming on too strong or too fast, right?
Right.
If it seems
No,
obsessive if they seem obsessed about wanting to see you and be in your constant contact, that's a
yes.
red flag. And I'm gonna tell you this: sometimes those things that can be so subtle. Because Chris used to say something that would just freak me out, and he really didn't understand the impact of what he was saying. The Lord had to show me where he was coming from with what he was saying, but he would say very aggressively when I didn't agree with him, he would say, I am your husband. I am your husband. You are my wife, he would say. And so I thought,
This was before you guys were married?
oh, when we were married, when I decided things weren't going right because, we couldn't see eye to eye. And so when he would say things like that, I just thought, this dude is crazy. You are not about to control me. You are not about to dictate to me because we are married. I'm not going. And so I resist him a lot because he would say that, but from his heart, what he was saying, this is a marriage. We're going to make it work. I am your
Right.
wife. Understand. I am your husband. Recognize that, and we're going to move on. But if you, like I said, we barely knew each other. Remember, a couple of weeks in.
Mhm.
And so when he would say those things, you know, I could have looked at him like that's a warning sign. He's a nutball. I'm out.
Right.
Right. But because God was with us and God was sculpturing us and had us on a potter's wheel, I didn't run because I think a part of me wanted to feel that, like I was a part of a marriage. I was a
Mm,
part of someone. So I ignored that. I didn't look at it, and things did, and again, we had to learn each other. So it continued to get progressively worse because the what God was doing within them 3 years was getting me delivered. So it was a part of a process that I couldn't see then,
mhm.
right?
Right.
Another thing that could be a warning sign is possessiveness.
Mhm.
When someone is jealous to a point where they try to control who you spend time with and what you do, while jealousy is a normal human emotion, it becomes unhealthy when it causes someone to control or lash out at you. This means getting upset when you text or hang out with people. They feel threatened by wrongly accusing you of flirting or cheating or even going so far as to stalk you. Possessiveness is often excused as being overprotective or
Right.
having really strong feelings for someone, right? That's
Yes.
second one. And then there's a couple more. I'm going to read a couple of them for you guys. I'll probably read them all.
I want to
Manipulation.
say something on
Mhm.
possessiveness. Because
Yeah.
I think we women, we confuse that with, oh, they really want to be with us. They love
Yeah.
us. They like being around us. They like, they're into us, and we don't look at those red flags
Hmm.
of someone being, possessive.
Absolutely.
Oh, they want to just be with me.
Yes.
They want me being around my family or friends. They want me. They, so we
They
look
love
at it.
me. Yeah.
Right. It's a form of love when it's really a control issue. And then with the
Absolutely.
intensity, I've had that happen to me several times where you meet men, I've met men, and 2, 3, 4 weeks, they want to get married. They
Yeah.
want to buy me a ring and
Mhm.
all this stuff. And which, those are definitely, red flags. And if you're not careful, you can end up marrying somebody, the devil, basically, because you don't know
Exactly.
them,
Exactly.
but if you're so desperate to be in a relationship and you don't look at the red flags and you go ahead and marry a person like that, then you could end up hurting yourself in the long run. So,
Absolutely.
mhm,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Manipulation is the third one. When someone tries to control your decisions, your actions, or emotions, manipulation is often hard to spot. A lot of times it is because, again, going back to the one we just discussed, um, they're trying to offer you a ring, right? They're
mhm,
manipulating
mhm.
you because they know that you're insecure or you need someone when really they are the ones that are in need of that
Insecure.
connection or
Yes.
that control. So yeah, manipulation, and it's hard to spot. So you have to really be attentive to their behaviors patterns because it can be expressed in subtle or passive aggressive ways. Yep,
Right.
we just talked about that. You're being manipulated if someone is trying to convince you to do things you don't feel comfortable doing, ignores you until they get their way, or they try to influence your feelings.
Right.
That you know that you are being manipulated at that time. Isolation is another red flag. Isolation.
Mhm.
So, when someone keeps you away from your friends, your family, or other people, and we had someone on the show um,
Yes.
last, was it
From
Monday?
Friday. On
Yeah,
Friday. Yeah.
yeah. And he was experiencing some domestic violence. Um, this behavior often starts slowly with someone asking you to spend more one-on-one time with them, but can later escalate to demands that you don't see certain people. Often,
Right.
they will ask you to choose between them and your friends.
Mhm.
Insist that you spend all your time with them, or make you question your own judgment of friends and family if you are experiencing isolation. They say you may end up feeling like you're dependent on your partner for love, money,
Yes.
acceptance. Yeah, so
Mhm.
that like number four. And then another one is sabotage. Sabotage.
Mhm.
When someone purposely ruins your reputation, your achievements, or success. Sabotage includes keeping you from doing things that are important to you. Behaviors like talking behind your back, starting rumors, or threatening to share private information about you is considered sabotage. And you see that a lot today with the kids on being online, right? They get them
Mhm.
to fall into relationship with them, and then they want nude pictures sent to them and stuff, right? And if they don't get what
Yes.
they want, then they will start trying to sabotage them and threaten to, send the pictures out. And some teenagers have been victims of being sabotaged, and they have committed suicide because they didn't want their families to know that they had entered into these relationships, these sexual relationships and stuff. And
Mhm.
pictures and things were out there. So they use
Yeah.
that to kill themselves. Another thing is number six is belittling. When someone does and says things to make you feel bad about yourself, this includes name calling, making rude remarks about people you are close with, or criticizing you. It's also belittling when someone makes fun of you in a way that makes you feel bad, even if it's played off as a joke. Over time, this can make you lose
Mhm.
confidence in yourself or your abilities. A lot of time, women that are overweight in relationships, they are oftentimes called various names and treated that way. Those are warning signs that you are being belittled within the relationship.
Yes. And I would say another one is sex. When you have someone that's manipulating you to
Yeah,
have sex
to have sex,
and you're
absolutely
not wanting to have sex.
right.
Yeah.
hmm Guilting is number seven. When someone makes you feel responsible for their actions or makes you feel like it's your job to keep them happy, they may
Right.
blame you for things that are out of your control and make you feel bad for them. This includes threatening to hurt themselves or others if you don't do as they say or
Mhm.
stay with them. They might also pressure you to do something that you're not comfortable with by claiming that it is important to them or that it'll hurt their feelings if you don't do it. So they doing a guilt trip, right? It's called
Mhm.
guilty. So put a
Right.
guilt trip on. You often see that as well. Those are people that have control issues. Those are warning signs of someone having control issues. And number
Mhm.
is
Yes.
volatility. When someone has a really strong, unpredictable reaction that makes you feel scared, confused, or intimidated, like our guest was. What's her name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Simone.
Simone.
Simone. It was a
Simone
great show.
Banks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was experiencing volatility. She was experiencing that. He had her confused or intimidated. She was volatile. A volatile person makes you feel like you need to walk on eggshells around them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
or they may make you feel like you have um, like you're in like if you don't do what they say, you're going to be hurt in a bad
Right.
way. They will have
Mhm.
extreme reactions. They'll have extreme reactions to small things. Right.
Right.
Just blow up for nothing.
Blow ups. Yes.
Your
Yeah.
relationship with them might feel like a roller coaster that contains extreme ups and downs. They may overreact to small things, have major mood swings, or lose control by getting violent, yelling, or even threatening you. A lot of times, those type of people have a mental health disorder called
Mhm.
bipolar, and you can easily quickly become their victim physically, real quick. Um,
Yeah.
Another one, the number 8 is deflecting. Well, number 9 is deflecting responsibility. When someone repeatedly makes excuses for their unhealthy behavior, that's
Mm-hmm.
deflecting their
Exactly.
responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They may blame you or other people for their own actions. Often, this includes making excuses based on alcohol or drug use, mental health
Yes.
issues, or past experiences like a cheating ex or a divorced parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's called deflecting the responsibility. And lastly, we have betrayal. These are
Mm-hmm.
warning signs. Remember, all of these are
Well,
warning.
well,
So betrayal is when someone is disloyal or acts in an intentionally dishonest way. They
mm-hmm.
may act like a different person around other people or share private information about you to others. It also includes lying, purposely
Mm-hmm.
leaving you out, being two-faced, or cheating on you. That is betrayal. So that
Yes.
that one hit everything right on the head, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes, so we enter into relationships and we see these red flags, and for whatever reason, we decide to continue moving through the relationship. And I tell you, things get worse; they don't get better. But when we get our emotions all tied up and entangled in the person that
Mm-hmm.
we connected to, thinking that tag they were it, it is difficult to untangle yourself from that because
Yes.
your emotions are all wrapped up in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when them three C's come in. A lot of times when you start seeing that stuff going on, you have to ask yourself, is this a good place to place them three C's, right? Compromise, being considerate. So, say for instance, if somebody did cheat on you, do you want to take in consideration their reasoning behind that? Are they
Yes.
giving you a reason or that justifies them cheating on you?
Exactly.
Have
Mm-hmm.
you been intimate with them as often as you needed to? And but and so now because they haven't been able to be intimate because you're standoffish, you're pushing them away, you never
Yeah.
and they cheated. Do you really want to consider that thing? You don't have to, but do you want to? Are you
Exactly.
willing to compromise the fact that your values and morals say that is wrong? Are you wanting to compromise your morals and values to be
Right.
considerate of that person? Those are things that has to be examined. Are
Yes.
you emotionally in a place where you can communicate
Mm-hmm.
effectively with that person and say, hey, listen, we're gonna talk about this. We need to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. Can you apply the three C's? And I say that's to every situation. You have to be able to sit down and talk through those things and agree to disagree or agree that
Right.
how you're going to move forward. So I say that the three C's should be working, and if there's no place for the three C's and for them to consider your feelings as you consider
Mm-hmm.
theirs,
Exactly.
there's a problem. There's a
Yes.
major problem, and there's going to continue, and then eventually the communication and the compromise and all of that is off the table, and you have
Yeah.
nothing but whatever they have decided to do to you.
Right. Exactly.
Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
somebody's going to say it's my way. She's going to say either my way or the highway, or he's going to say either it's my way or the highway. Or we can stay here, but we ain't riding together. We can ride on the same road, but we ain't riding together.
Yes. And who wants that?
Who wants that in a relationship?
Yes.
So when you start looking at those three C's, those relationships that you're entered into, and you see any of those 10 red flags, it's time to come to the table and discuss some stuff. And decisions have to be made. And whatever decision you make, you have to stand on it. You can't say
Yeah.
I'm a compromise. Okay, I consider those things you said. I forgive you. And we're gonna move on. And then later on, you're throwing it up in their face of what they did or how they did because you could have decided right then if you is something on. Is that some background noise?
No, I ain't got no background noise. It's quiet.
I don't know what that is. It sounds like
It sounds like a
is
CD.
your phone. I don't know.
Is that fan? Did you turn the fan back on, Pastor? You said you had a fan on or something?
Oh, I cut the fan off. I told you it's quiet in this room. Ain't nothing on. There's
It
nothing
could
on.
be some outside interference. It's
Yeah.
gone now. So yeah, yeah, but you have to know what you're getting into. Again, I don't recommend anyone entering into any relationship without getting to know women. We should really be careful and cautious about who we get involved with. Take our time and just see if it's something that you'll be able to apply the three C's to.
Yes. Yes. I do definitely agree to that.
Right. I had my niece who passed away years ago. Violent death. Right here in Dayton. You might have remembered the case. Michelle McKnight, her son Jaden. She had gotten involved in a relationship coming from Texas when she moved down to Ohio. And she looked at the man's charms and, how he was presenting a smooth talker, but she never really knew who this guy was. She never investigated him, never checked his background, never asked who this guy was in the neighborhood, who he's involved with, but it ended up costing her life. He led her on, the smooth talker, and led her to her house and shot my niece in the head twice. And she was killed, as well as the baby. Don't nobody know what they did with the baby. Um, at the time he was 3 years old, Jaden. So yeah, it's best to investigate any individual try to enter your life. Check them out. Hit the internet. You know, ask around in the neighborhood who this guy is. If he's pursuing you to be involved with you, you got to know who he is. You don't know the background, things can get foul. But I ain't saying that to women to throw that up with women, but that's what happened to most women in this life that deals with dating sites and just dating people, period. Meeting them up in clubs or wherever they meet them at. They got to check them out because you never know who you dealing with.
Yeah, that's Zayden. I always once a year I try to post keep a light on for Zayden because we never found him, but they did find his mom, and but they never found Zayden. You know, we have to be
Wow.
careful again who we connect to, who we
Hmm.
connect with. Yeah. So again, but as it relates to women, we need to make sure that be pursued, be pampered, be wined and dined. Pay attention, less talking, less giving. So quickly. Get to know the person so that we can. If you don't know how to determine if someone is right for you, you can always. There's so much help across social media and Google and stuff. You can just type
Mm-hmm.
like warning signs of a bad relationship. I just read you 10. You know, um,
Yes.
what to look for in a relationship, and or talk to people, talk to your pastors, or if you're in a church, or talk to people. Sometimes the churches say it's better to marry than to die than to burn, and they don't care who you're connected with. They're just looking at it like you're trying to lay up with someone, and so you better get married and don't be run around fornicating. But it's more than that. We can't just rush people into marriages because of what scripture says. Excuse me. We got to make sure that we are counseling and giving wise counsel to the young people who are entering into these relationships. We see a lot of young women being tormented and tortured, being involved in domestic violence situations where their lives are being taken because they don't know how what signs to look for, you know, um,
Mhm.
and unhealthy relationships. Where everybody can do 2 weeks and then gonna tolerate 3 years. A lot could have happened within those first 3 years of our marriage, a lot. And so I'm just so thankful that I had a strong man to stand and I had enough sense to listen to the Holy Spirit who was most definitely ministering to me for those 3 years because he knew where Chris and I were headed. I mean some spiritual stuff. I don't mean I'm looking at him like my forever husband. I didn't go into marriage looking at nothing to be forever because of my past. It could never, nothing never really lasts. I just looked at it like, oh, I'm tiptoeing through the tulips. I'm on my way to see Jesus. You can go if you like. Come
Right.
on. Come on. I'm on the love train. Get on board. I was on that. And then when I saw who was driving the train, I'm like, hey, hold on. Wait a minute. Slow down. You turning me in. I'm controlling this. And so then it was just on for me to realize, okay, yeah, you're on the love train and we're headed to see Jesus. And we're going this way. This the way we're going. This the way we're going. So I had to learn how to, adapt to someone um, leading me and trust that God had connected me with the right person. And I didn't know that the only thing I needed to do was to be silent, and just trust God to steer us in the right directions. I had to learn how to be a wife, a forever wife. And so that meant just letting go of some things, still having my voice, but letting go of those things that was not like God concerning me. And even in sharing, um, you know, how God felt about things I felt was wrong, there was a way to do that too.
Right.
You know, there's a way to do that too. If you feel like your significant other is not doing things the right way, you have an obligation to the marriage, to the relationship to say, um, this is not godly. And or, maybe was God thinking of this in this way? Can you take me to the scriptures and show me what this looks like? So as a woman of God in a marriage, you have a right to do that. You have a right to ask those questions, and the husband or the wife must be held accountable to the word of God moving through that relationship. Everything else goes out the door. Your personal opinions, all of that stuff goes out the door, and it's not based on your personal interpretations of the scriptures. It's the interpretation of the scriptures that help guide you through making the right decisions and choices.
Right.
And so we had to learn that, and we're doing it. Yeah, but that's not
Yeah.
for everybody. That's
Right.
not for everybody. You know, if it's a
Always want
relationship and Jesus is not the foundation, honey, I tell you, run right now.
right, right, run right now. As long as Jesus is the center of the relationship of the marriage covenant, or
Yeah.
you coming into a marriage covenant, the marriage is gonna work out. It's gonna work out
Now,
divinely. It's gonna work out divinely
yeah,
because
you
he
got
gonna
to
make
have a
sure
living heart.
he got to be a lover of Jesus Christ. She got to be a lover of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Period. Jesus being the center of the relationship
Yes.
at all times. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a loving heart, and I thank God that both of us we have the heart of God, so we don't we like I mentioned earlier, we didn't stay angry for long. We couldn't if we wanted to, because
Good.
that's
Right.
not our heart to do that. We don't want nobody to feel hurt and pain, even as a child, I never wanted to feel hurt and pain. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to feel that. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be understood. So if that's what I want, it's like having a tantrum. You don't get what you want, but once you get what you want, you calm down. So in my
Right.
marriage, I was able to get what I want. It didn't come when I wanted it. Sometimes the tantrums lasted longer, and I just say that because it's a mental thing. But when
Yes.
God starts speaking to me because He's my Father. When He starts saying, "Calm down, Chantel. I got you. I'll deal with Chris. You'll get what you want." He understands, but you have to calm down. You can't talk to your husband that way. You can't respond that way. Calm down, Chantel. So when I heard the voice of my Father, I learned to hear that. I was able to just be calm enough to hear what Chris was saying regardless of how it hurted. I know I had to go through that deliverance process. So then the murdering spirit was up and out. Get up out of here. You got to go.
Right.
And I speak to that thing. That's my husband. I
Yeah.
promise y'all, listen, supernatural attacks are real. They are real. And we have to learn how to hear the voice of God if you're Christian and speak to those things that's going to come up against your relationship, that's going to come up against your marriage. in all type of relationships.
Right. And
But most of all,
communication,
marriage. Yeah, communication.
communication with each other to
Yes,
diffuse a matter is the most important. It's highly important. It's one
yes,
to put the thing on the table to diffuse a problem before it
yeah,
even go any further. Come in
yeah,
agreement. You know what I mean? And
yes.
that's the way it need to be at all times in relationships. If you see
Hmm.
a problem about to escalate, it's best to talk about it and
Hmm.
come to a resolution with the situation on both
Exactly,
ends. You know what I mean? In agreement with it.
exactly,
How can we
exactly,
fix this problem? How can we,
exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, God is still working on us, and He's still going to continue to work on others who enter into relationships that want Him to help them through it,
right?
because He frowns upon divorce. He does not like a divorce, as He frowns upon it.
That's right.
There is some things that
Right.
He will allow you to separate. If you can't get along, the Bible says if you can't get along with your spouse, y'all not seeing eye to eye, there can be a separation period. He will allow that. But during that separation period, you're not allowed to sleep with anyone else. You're just supposed to
Right.
separate for a time until you can work it out. And then the
Yep.
intentions are to come back together after you worked it out. But you're
That's
not
right.
allowed to sleep because that's adultery. But
Exactly.
you can divorce if they commit adultery. Now that is grounds to serve them papers, honey. If you do that. There is a way out of a marriage that if their infidelity is an issue, you have a right, to serve them papers. God will honor that severance. But other than that, we're supposed to separate for a time until we can get back together and work towards getting back together. You
Yes.
know.
And I want to say this too. I know a lot of people that have separated, they think it's okay to date. They don't understand that you're still married to that person. You're still
Right.
committing adultery, even if you're separated, even if it's a
Right.
legal separation.
Yeah.
It's you're not divorced in the eyes of the Lord. So you're still committing adultery, even if
It's a
you're
form of lust.
yeah, even if you have divorce papers, if they have not been finalized, you're still legally married, you're still committing adultery. And a lot of them don't realize that. And I can attest to that. That I'm a Christian. I renounce it as much as possible. And I went through that phase where I was divorced, and it took me 18 months to get a divorce. But I
Yeah.
did not go out. I didn't talk to men. I didn't accept dates. I didn't accept phone calls. I didn't accept texts. I did not accept no one coming over my house. I didn't
Right.
accept any of that because I knew that that was, a part of adultery. It was still, me committing adultery if I would have chosen to go out on a date or, be with a man during that time. So I know a lot of people they don't recognize that. They think as soon as they get into, separation, they can run out and date and have sex. But that's not,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
That's
you
not
often hear
good.
them say, "Well, we were on a break," and they end up getting people pregnant
right,
and back to the
right. And
marriage.
then
Well,
they
this
get back
happened when
together
we
and
were
they
on a break. No, we weren't on a
got
break.
baby
You were
moms. Yeah.
separated. And now you have
Hmm.
a
Right.
baby that you bring into back into the marriage. But sometimes I don't know, like if someone committed adultery on you and you are separated because of the act of adultery, and you're awaiting the divorce proceedings to take place. I feel like this: if you commit adultery on me, it's a wrap. And if God said that that's grounds to divorce you, I might not wait for a divorce. I might not. I'm done with you. And all you need is the paper. So, and some people think that way, when it comes to that. I'm going on with my life. You're wasn't it. You cheated. I'm moving on with my life. And when the divorce date come, I will sign off on you. You know, Now I don't know that God would honor that because the divorce have not went through. Yet the Lord has given you permission to divorce because
Right.
So it immediately the vow is broken that you made to God, to be with this person and not, commit infidelity. So, I don't know how that will go, but some people they move
Well,
on.
the Bible said if they divorce, give a certificate of divorce.
Oh, there it
Exactly.
is. Yeah,
Certificate of
Yeah.
divorce.
yeah.
The
Right.
But
You
Bible
yeah,
have,
said,
he does say that, but he didn't say how soon.
yeah, he just
right.
said,
But I
He
say
didn't say
that
how soon. I figure if God say it, when the divorce comes, you have to give a certificate. I think that's so for the people, so that the people will know that this marriage is no longer. Yeah, yeah.
right.
It
Yeah.
has to be understood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
for
I
people.
know that, like I said, when I was there married and I went through that, my husband committed adultery.
Mm,
I don't, I guess, I mean, I could have, dated because I had grounds for divorce based on that. But because
yeah.
I was so much a believer,
yeah,
I felt like I would still be committing adultery.
Yeah, if you
So
slept with
yeah,
them, I would say,
yeah,
well, number one, adultery was already committed when he did that to you. So
right,
that
right,
severed the marriage. That severed the
right,
marriage. So if you went on with your life and started dating, right? The Lord is not going to hold you in in contempt because the God's ways is now comparison to our ways. Our ways are not um God's ways, and
God's ways are not always right.
yeah, so he sees things differently. I'm not saying to anyone go and start sleeping before divorce. I'm just saying if you draw a technical, it costs people money to get divorces, right?
Yeah,
And if this man is sleeping with another woman and you're here and you're his wife and he's went on with his life and you decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and start dating and find me someone and go ahead and start preparations for this divorce. I don't see where God would say to you, you are an adulteress for dating.
right. Because you,
I wouldn't say sleep with no one. I just wouldn't sleep with anyone until that divorce was final. But as far as dating and getting to know someone, oh, most definitely, if I had decided to move on with my life, I'm not going to sit there stagnated, and you clearly seeing someone else, sleeping with them and everything else, and my life stops until I can afford a divorce. The devil is a lie. Because
right.
at the end of the day, the reason why we divorce, because listen, and maybe I'm wrong, Pastor, will correct me. I know he will. I always thought that, we should be fruitful and multiply. That was the initial, commandment that we was given, the command that was made that we be fruitful and we multiply, right? And
Mhm.
then man and woman go come together and do that. And so I believe that, but I also believe in the New Testament where Paul said, it is better to marry than to burn. So I think that a lot of people have gotten married in the church because they didn't want to burn and they wanted to have sex and lay up with somebody. And so
Exactly.
they marry for those reasons why. So without those people, you married so because you had to be with that person physically, and now y'all in a marriage. Maybe the sex is not there anymore. You find out that person is sexing somebody else, and now you're sitting here. So what are you supposed to do? If it's better
Yeah.
to marry than to burn, get a divorce and go ahead and remarry.
divorce and remarried, but I understand her personal conviction, her relationship is with Jesus Christ. Everybody had their different personal convictions.
There's
So
something wrong with your
she rather,
phone.
she rather let the divorce paper come and let it be
Something wrong
final.
with your
You
mic.
know, huh?
Something's wrong with your mic.
It sounds a little hollow.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we could
Can
hear
you hear,
you. We could
can you
hear
hear me?
you. We
Can y'all
can
hear me now?
we can
Yes.
hear you. You just sound like you were on in a microphone or something.
All right. Yeah. What I was saying is, I understand her personal conviction. You know what I mean? Because that's her relationship with God. That's the way she feels about when it comes to divorce. She rather
Right.
wait for finalization
Right.
of the divorce because she's still married to the man to that finalization. So I understand that, but everybody has a different perspective on it. But her personal belief is she rather wait for the finalization
That's a
and
good
see
thing.
that paper signed, his name and her name signed. It's done. It's done. It's concluded. It's done. The divorce is done. I understand that, but most people
That's a
do it a different
good
way. Some people do it a different way when they already filed divorce, so they just go on about their way. But yet, when they come to a man and woman of God, and they have that personal conviction like she has, that's a good thing, really. I feel that's a good thing because that's the problem. The way I would do it too. I wouldn't just
Yeah, I
divorce.
would. I wouldn't start. I would date, but I wouldn't sleep with no one until that divorce was final,
I probably wouldn't date myself at all.
regardless of what he did. You know, I would date though. I probably would date if if I was looking for someone. But I would date absolutely until that divorce came. That don't mean I'm asleep with him.
Everybody have a different way how they proceed on that thing. So, but it ain't no wrong on how she feel. It ain't no
No,
wrong how you feel.
right,
So
right.
everybody's different. So
Yeah,
it is there.
absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Just
Yeah.
like
So
Yeah.
we,
y'all, he had divorce, and you know, I was married once before. My wife is my second marriage. Me and Chantel, she's my second marriage. This time I made the right wing of choosing. First one, I chose myself. It was through lust. I got to be real with you. I was young, lust in my 20s, and the marriage failed. The stuff didn't happen in the marriage between me and the first wife. I mean, it was bad. Praise God that God made a man with that woman. And I apologize my mistakes to her. She apologized for mistakes to me. And everything is free. But I hold no grudge against her. She holds no grudge against me. So God had made it where we came across each other's path through Facebook, had the communication, then boom. That was like about 3, 4 years ago. So, but I understand everybody goes through things in life. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the right mate,
Right.
finding the right mate. And God will send me. God
yeah,
will send me.
absolutely. So we just need to be wooed and loved on and just start focusing
Yes.
and paying more attention
Right.
before entering into relationships because you never know, honey. Sometimes relationships is like a Cracker Jack box. You might find a prize
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
like, right? That you don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So God is good. It was awesome us getting together and doing relationships. Thank you, Pastor Chris. He is a co-host of the show, so he jumps in and out as he pleases to discuss whichever domain that God lays his heart on. We didn't have a guest for today because we didn't kind of seek them out. But Wednesday and Fridays, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Let's Keep It Real will be on at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have 6 different domains that we have dialogue on. Family matters and relationships is one. Substance abuse is another one. Um, Personal development and corrective thinking is one. Mental health and trauma is another one. And then we have 2 others. Let me see if I can remember those.
Health and well-being, health and
Yeah,
wellness.
health and wellness, and then the other one is finances and wealth building. So we are open for dialogue with anyone that might be reviewing. If you want to be a guest, come on, inbox us. We will explain the process of coming on and sharing your story. We have had some awesome guests on here that have become co-hosts. After every guest comes on, they have an opportunity to come on as often as they like as co-host on any domain. This show was brought to you by me. It is um, It stems from my book, Fruit of the Harvest Ministries, a course on personal development and corrective thinking for spiritual and practical use. It's a course book that I wrote at the top of 2020, an awesome course book that we're going to start. Pastor Chris is the pastor of Fruit of the Harvest Ministries. I am the apostle soon to be installed as a pastor, working alongside Pastor Chris, and then evangelist Latrice here is an evangelist of the ministry. So this is our course book. We will be teaching on that come May out of that course book. And it's a book that where we teach you how to combat different barriers that you may be facing or have faced in your past. We help you to um, move past those barriers in order that you reach some of the goals that you have set in your life and haven't been able to because of those barriers. We have skill cards, we role play and do all that awesome stuff. So it was a privilege and an honor for the Lord to choose Latrice and I to sit side by side and host this show that He has birthed out. We are so thankful to be a part of it, and we are
Yes.
so thankful that He has reached in throughout the nations and handpicked those that will come on as a guest and share their
Yes.
story of struggle in order to help someone else get delivered and healed and set free from those barriers that we've discussed. We love you and we thank you. We want to hear your story. You are important to God, and what you've been through is important to God. There's a scripture that said they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And we take that to believe that our testimonies, can
Yes.
everybody, can y'all mute your phones? We
Oh
believe
yeah.
that our testimony of our guests is going to help you overcome a bunch of things that you have been asking God to free you from. So this is, if this is you and you have a story, please, sir, please, ma'am, reach out so that we can get you on the show as soon as possible because somebody's life is dependent upon hearing how you were able to get through or get over. We love you. God bless you. And we thank you for joining us
Yes.
tonight. Good night.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Have a great night.
Amen.
Man.
Amen.
great friend cousin, and she's a woman of God. Remember I
Bless her heart.